Don't spend those quarters too fast. Washington quarters may look ordinary, but rare dates, mint errors, and high-grade examples can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Your spare change could be hiding a real treasure. The U.S. Washington quarter has long been a familiar coin in American pockets, vending machines, and cash registers, but few people ever stop to think about how certain quarters can be worth far more than their face value. The 1974 Washington quarter is one such coin that has gained extraordinary attention among collectors. While most 1974 quarters are only worth their 25-cent face value, there are rare and exceptional examples that can command jaw-dropping sums at auction. In some cases, a single 1974 Washington quarter has been valued between $60,000 and $130,000, making it one of the most fascinating modern collectible coins in U.S. history. To understand why this particular quarter can reach such incredible values, we need to start with its history. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, the obverse of the coin features a left-facing bust of Washington with the inscriptions, "Liberty," and "In God We Trust." The reverse displays a majestic heraldic eagle with outstretched wings, perched on a bundle of arrows, with olive branches below, symbols of strength and peace. This design would remain in use for decades, becoming one of the most recognizable coins in American currency. By 1974, the Washington quarter had already been circulating for over 40 years, but the early 1970s were an unusual time in U.S. coinage history. Just a few years earlier, in 1965, the mint had completely stopped using silver in quarters due to rising silver prices and a nationwide shortage. The traditional 90% silver quarter was replaced by a clad composition of copper and nickel, which is the same basic metal blend still used today. This change caused some confusion and resentment among the public, who had grown accustomed to silver coins and often hoarded older issues. The 1974 quarter is part of that clad era, but it stands out for more reasons than just being another post-silver coin. The most common 1974 quarters were struck at 3 U.S. mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Philadelphia coins had no mint mark, Denver coins carried a small D, and San Francisco produced proof quarters with an S. Millions upon millions were made, and for the average collector, most are not rare. But it's the unusual variations, minting errors, and exceptional conditions that elevate certain 1974 quarters into the realm of numismatic treasure. Error coins are where the story of the 1974 quarter really becomes exciting. During this era, the mint was producing billions of coins, and occasional mistakes slipped through the process. One of the most famous error varieties associated with the 1974 Washington quarter is the transitional error involving leftover silver planchets. Although silver quarters had officially ended in 1964, a small number of planchets were sometimes left in the mint's machinery or storage bins, and they were mistakenly struck with newer designs. A 1974 Washington quarter struck on a silver planchet rather than the intended copper-nickel clad composition would be an extraordinary rarity, easily worth tens of thousands of dollars to collectors. Another source of rarity is in proof coins. Proof coins are specially struck for collectors, with sharper details and mirror-like finishes. The 1974's proof quarter is not especially rare in ordinary condition, but coins graded at the very top levels of preservation, such as PR70, can command impressive sums. And if a proof quarter has a minting error, such as a double strike, off-center strike, or missing design elements, it can become an extreme rarity worth a fortune. Then there is the question of condition. For most circulated 1974 quarters, heavy wear makes them only worth face value. But examples that have survived in pristine condition, graded mint state 67 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, can be worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. At the very highest levels, with perfect luster, sharp strikes, and flawless surfaces, values soar into that remarkable range of $60,000 to $130,000. Only a handful of coins ever achieve this level of preservation, making them prized trophies for serious collectors. Auction results over the years have proven just how valuable these coins can be. There are documented cases where rare high-grade 1974 Washington quarters have sold for amounts that stunned even seasoned numismatists. Collectors are often willing to pay astronomical prices for the best of the best, and the 1974 quarter has been no exception. The combination of scarcity in top condition, the possibility of transitional silver planchet errors, and the allure of minting mistakes has created a perfect storm of demand. What makes the 1974 Washington quarter so intriguing is its accessibility. Unlike rare coins from centuries past, this is a modern coin that millions of Americans handled in daily life. It's a coin that sat in cash registers, vending machines, and pockets. Yet among those countless millions, a small fraction carry immense hidden value. That sense of possibility that someone could stumble across a fortune in a coin jar or inherited collection is part of what drives so much excitement around coins like the 1974 quarter. The historical context also adds to its mystique. By 1974, the United States was in the midst of economic change, grappling with inflation, and preparing for the nation's bicentennial just 2 years later. The Washington quarter was about to undergo its first major design change since 1932, with the special dual-date bicentennial quarter of 1976. In a way, the 1974 quarter represents the last of an era, the final years before that iconic change. Collectors often view it as a bridge between the classic Washington design and the more commemorative issues that followed. For new collectors, the story of the 1974 quarter offers valuable lessons. It shows how condition, rarity, and errors can transform a common coin into a treasure. It teaches the importance of looking closely at coins, examining details, and seeking professional grading when a coin appears exceptional. And it reminds us that history is all around us, sometimes hidden in the most ordinary places. So why are some 1974 Washington quarters worth between $60,000 and $130,000? It's because of the perfect combination of factors. Their place in U.S. coinage history, their potential as rare minting errors, the tiny number of surviving high-grade examples, and the demand from passionate collectors who are willing to pay extraordinary amounts for something truly special. For anyone with a collection of coins, or even just a jar of spare change, the lesson is clear. Always pay attention to the details. What looks like just another quarter might actually be a hidden gem, one of those rare survivors that could change your life. The 1974 Washington quarter is proof that even modern coins can carry immense historical and financial value. It is a reminder that American coinage is full of surprises, and that treasures still exist in the most unexpected places. From ordinary pocket change to six-figure auction prizes, the journey of this coin is one of history, rarity, and discovery. The 1965 Washington quarter-dollar coin carries with it a story that few people realize when they look at it. To most, it seems like just another quarter worth 25 cents, passed through hands at grocery stores, vending machines, or tossed into a change jar. But for coin collectors and numismatists who know its history, certain versions of the 1965 Washington quarter can hold incredible value, with some rare examples fetching prices ranging from $66,000 to $136,000 at auctions. This staggering price for what appears to be an everyday coin is rooted in the unique history of its production, the changes in U.S. coinage during the mid-1960s, and the rarity of specific varieties and errors that make the 1965 quarter one of the most fascinating pieces in American coin collecting. To understand why this coin is so special, we need to go back to the early 1960s. The United States Mint had been producing Washington quarters in 90% silver since their debut in 1932. For decades, these silver quarters circulated normally, but by the early 1960s, the rising price of silver began creating serious problems. The value of the silver in the coins was approaching, and in some cases exceeding, their face value. This caused hoarding, shortages in circulation, and growing concerns about the stability of the coinage system. In response, Congress passed the Coinage Act of 1965, which removed silver from quarters entirely, changing their composition to a clad mixture of copper and nickel bonded to a pure copper core. This was a historic shift in U.S. coinage, and the first clad quarters were struck in 1965. The 1965 Washington quarter, therefore, represents a turning point in American money. It was the first year quarters were minted without any silver content, making it historically important. Millions were produced that year, and the mint even went so far as to intentionally not put mint marks on coins for several years, including 1965, to discourage hoarding. On the surface, this means the majority of 1965 quarters are quite common, and most people would never consider them valuable. However, hidden within that year's production are rare examples and minting anomalies that transform these coins into treasures worth tens of thousands of dollars. One of the most famous and desirable rarities of the 1965 Washington quarter is the silver transition error. Despite the official change to clad composition, some 1965 quarters were accidentally struck on leftover 90% silver planchets from 1964. These coins look nearly identical to the ordinary clad quarters, but they weigh slightly more, 6.25 grams compared to the clad weight of 5.67 grams, and have the distinct silver ring when dropped. Identifying one of these silver 1965 quarters is like winning the lottery for collectors, as they are incredibly rare and highly sought after. When they appear at auctions, they can command breathtaking prices, sometimes soaring well into that $66,000 to $136,000 range, depending on condition and provenance. High-grade mint state examples of the 1965 clad quarter also carry strong value. Because so many of these coins were heavily used in circulation, finding one with minimal wear, sharp detail, and full mint luster is extremely challenging. Coins graded MS-67 or higher by professional grading services are scarce, and their rarity pushes prices higher every time one comes to auction. Even without errors, condition alone can elevate a coin's value dramatically. Proof-like examples, which show mirror-like surfaces despite not being official proofs, add another level of desirability for specialists. Collectors also hunt for errors beyond the silver transition. Off-center strikes, double strikes, and broad strikes all occurred during the production of 1965 quarters. Each of these errors makes the coin visually distinct, immediately recognizable as something unusual. The rarity of such errors, coupled with the significance of the year 1965 as the first clad quarter, makes these mistakes even more valuable than errors from less pivotal years. A dramatic off-center strike from 1965 with the date fully visible could bring a significant premium, and collectors will pay handsomely for the chance to own one. Auction stories surrounding the 1965 quarter continue to capture imaginations. Collectors and enthusiasts often recount the moment a seemingly ordinary quarter is weighed and revealed to be struck on a silver planchet. In one case, a silver 1965 quarter in superb condition crossed the block and the bidding was fierce, climbing higher and higher until it reached a price that shocked even seasoned numismatists. It ended up selling for over $100,000, cementing its place as one of the most coveted modern rarities in U.S. coinage. Another dramatic moment came when a pristine mint state 1965 quarter, free of blemishes and graded among the finest known, sparked a bidding war between collectors, pushing the final price well into the five-figure range. For ordinary people, stories like these add excitement to something as mundane as loose change. Many have gone through old jars of coins inherited from family members or tucked away in drawers, hoping to find one of these silver transition errors or high-grade survivors. The fact that a simple 25-cent piece can hold the potential to be worth $66,000 to $136,000 keeps the hunt alive. It reminds us that history is often hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone with curiosity and a sharp eye to uncover it. The historical significance of the 1965 quarter extends beyond its financial value. It marks the end of an era of silver coinage in America. For generations, U.S. coins had intrinsic metal value, tied to the gold and silver they were minted from. The 1965 clad quarter was a break from that tradition, signaling a shift toward modern coinage where the value was based solely on trust in the government and the economy rather than the metal itself. This change reshaped how Americans viewed their money, and the 1965 quarter became a symbol of that new reality. Collectors see this coin as more than just a quarter. They see it as a tangible piece of history, a marker of economic change, and a reminder of the country's evolving relationship with its currency. Every silver transition error or pristine mint state survivor connects us directly to that pivotal moment. And in a way, the rarity and high value of these coins reflect how monumental that change truly was. For those who collect Washington quarters as a series, the 1965 issue is an essential piece. Not only is it historically important, but it also offers a range of collecting challenges, from condition rarity to error varieties. Building a collection that includes a 1965 silver transition error is a goal for many serious collectors, though few achieve it. The high prices these coins command reflect their status as holy grails in the hobby. The enduring appeal of the 1965 Washington quarter lies in this combination of history, rarity, and possibility. It bridges the world of everyday money with that of extraordinary value. It tells a story of change in America, while at the same time offering the tantalizing chance that anyone, anywhere, could stumble across one of these rarities in their pocket change or coin jar. That dream, however unlikely, is what keeps people searching, weighing their quarters, and examining their edges to see if perhaps they hold a piece of numismatic history worth a life-changing sum. In the end, the 1965 quarter proves that not all coins are created equal. Some carry with them a story that makes them priceless in the eyes of collectors. And some, like the silver transition era or the finest known mint state survivors, can be worth $66,000 to $136,000, turning a humble quarter into a legendary treasure. It is this transformation of the ordinary into the extraordinary that fuels the passion of coin collectors and keeps the legend of the 1965 Washington quarter alive. The 1986 Washington quarter-dollar coin may appear to be an ordinary piece of American currency, one that most people would never give a second thought to as they pass it along in change or drop it into a jar at home. But beneath that ordinary surface lies a story that has stunned coin collectors and investors for decades. Certain rare examples of the 1986 Washington quarter have achieved auction prices between $46,000 and $110,000, transforming what was once just a small piece of metal worth 25 cents into a coveted treasure that continues to generate excitement in the numismatic world. The Washington quarter had already been in circulation for over 50 years by the time 1986 rolled around. First introduced in 1932 to honor George Washington on the bicentennial of his birth, it replaced the standing Liberty quarter and quickly became one of the most iconic coins in American coinage. The obverse, designed by sculptor John Flanagan, features a left-facing bust of the nation's first president with the inscriptions Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date. The reverse showcases the mighty bald eagle with wings spread, a symbol of national pride and freedom, accompanied by the words United States of America, E pluribus unum, and $quarter BY 1986. The coin was being struck in massive numbers at the Philadelphia and Denver mints for circulation and at the San Francisco mint for proof sets. On the surface, nothing about the 1986 quarter seems out of the ordinary. It was one of billions of Washington quarters produced during the 1980s, and most were used in everyday transactions. Yet, as is often the case in the world of coin collecting, rarity and value come not from what is common but from what slips through as a mistake or survives in exceptional condition. That is where the 1986 quarter reveals its true intrigue. The most famous examples are the error coins and the finest surviving mint state coins. Errors, whether due to misstrikes, double dies, missing mint marks, or off-center strikes, create coins that collectors crave because they stand out from the rest. In the case of the 1986 quarter, certain rare minting errors have pushed their values into the extraordinary range. Double die obverse and reverse examples are especially prized, where design elements appear doubled, creating a dramatic visual effect under magnification. Off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing due to a misaligned strike, also captivate collectors. And then there are coins missing key mint marks, anomalies that shouldn't exist but do, and those mistakes can propel a coin's worth far beyond face value. But even without dramatic errors, the 1986 quarter becomes valuable in top-grade condition. Collectors prize coins that have never entered circulation, coins that retain their original mint luster, sharp details, and surfaces free from contact marks. The higher the grade, the higher the value. Coins certified at MS 67, MS 68, and especially MS 69 are incredibly rare for this issue, and when they appear, they ignite bidding wars. It is in these cases that prices can soar into the tens of thousands, with some reaching that breathtaking range between $46,000 and $110,000. For a coin that started its life worth just 25 cents, the transformation is nothing short of remarkable. Auction stories surrounding the 1986 Washington quarter capture the excitement of these discoveries. A collector once submitted what he thought was just an unusually clean quarter from a mint set to a professional grading service. To his astonishment, it came back as one of the finest known examples of its kind, earning a grade so high that when it went up for sale, the final hammer price reached tens of thousands of dollars. Stories like these fuel the passion of collectors, encouraging them to look closer at even the most ordinary-seeming coins. The appeal of the 1986 quarter also lies in its place within the broader story of the Washington Quarter series. By the mid-1980s, the design had already been in use for over 5 decades, and many were calling for a change. Yet the classic design endured, continuing until the launch of the 50-state quarters program in 1999. The 1986 issue represents one of the final decades of the classic Washington quarter before that dramatic shift, giving it added historical weight. Collectors who seek to build complete sets of Washington quarters see the 1980s issues as essential pieces of the puzzle, and in the best possible condition, they become key highlights in any collection. The coin also reflects the era in which it was struck. The 1980s were a time of technological transition for the U.S. Mint, with improved production techniques leading to fewer mistakes. That means that when mistakes did occur, they were even rarer than in earlier decades. This adds to the intrigue of error varieties from 1986, because their very existence defies the quality control standards of the time. That rarity is what makes them so valuable and so sought after. There's also an undeniable element of thrill when it comes to coins like the 1986 quarter. Imagine the excitement of someone casually going through an old change jar or a box of coins tucked away in a closet, only to discover a flawless quarter from 1986 or 1 with a dramatic mint error. What looks like ordinary change suddenly becomes an extraordinary find, capable of fetching anywhere from $46,000 to $110,000 in the right circumstances. That possibility, however slim, is part of what keeps collectors motivated to search, study, and preserve coins. In some cases, families who inherit collections from relatives are shocked to learn that a coin as ordinary as a quarter from 1986 could be worth a life-changing sum. Auction houses often tell the story of heirs who bring in boxes of coins with no idea of their value, only to be astonished when an expert identifies one of these rare treasures. The look of disbelief when they hear that a single quarter might sell for over $50,000 captures the magic of numismatics, the transformation of pocket change into priceless history. The legacy of the 1986 Washington quarter dollar coin is a reminder that coins are more than just currency. They are tiny artifacts that carry stories of history, craftsmanship, chance, and sometimes sheer luck. A single misstep at the mint, or the survival of a coin in near-perfect condition, can elevate it from ordinary to legendary. For collectors, this coin represents both a challenge and an opportunity. The challenge of finding one in the best possible condition or with the right kind of error, and the opportunity to hold in their hands a piece of American history that also happens to be worth a fortune. As time passes, the rarity and value of these coins only grow. More and more circulated examples vanish into obscurity, while the finest pieces are locked away in collections, seldom reappearing on the market. This scarcity drives values even higher, and when one does emerge, the excitement in the collecting community is palpable. Every auction of a high-grade 1986 quarter or a spectacular error variety is a reminder that treasures still exist in the most unexpected places. The 1986 Washington quarter, therefore, is not just a coin. It is a symbol of how much wonder can be packed into the smallest objects. It is a reminder that history and value can be found in the change rattling in your pocket or resting unnoticed in a coin album. And most importantly, it is proof that even something as simple as a quarter, under the right circumstances, can be worth between $46,000 and $110,000. A sum that changes lives, excites collectors, and ensures that this little piece of American coinage will never be forgotten.